Hello, my name is Colin Riddington, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Wizhook function in Access, which is a little known and hidden Access object. You can find more details about this topic on my website at isledogs.co.uk/Wizhook. Okay, as I mentioned already, it's a hidden and largely undocumented object, which despite that is very useful. As I say, it's little known. It was originally created for use by Access Wizards over 20 years ago, but Microsoft has never officially supported it, hence the lack of documentation. It has over 70 Wizhook members, and most of those require the use of a key, which, as far as I know, is absolutely unique within Access. The key for Wizhook is 514883999, and as I say, you will need to apply that in order to run almost all of the functions. To view it, as I say, it's a hidden object. You need to show hidden members in the VBE, and I realise you won't be able to see that, so let me just enlarge that. And only when you show hidden members by ticking this here will you actually see this list of items. I'll show you that in a second when we open Access. Now, in order to understand how to use it then, I've created a reference guide example app which goes through each of the 70 different functions. And the main form looks like this, and as already mentioned, you can find that as part of the article on my website. Okay, let's go into Access. So this is the main form, and it has been designed with automatic form resizing, which means it should adapt to whatever size monitor you've got. If I go into Design View a second, you will see the original form is actually much smaller, and it's been scaled up for my particular monitor. And as I say, it should work on any monitor size and resolution that you have. The form then lists all of the different functions, and as I say, there's 70 of them, and they've been listed in alphabetical order. As I move over them, then I can actually show some help for each item like this. That's going to get a little bit distracting during this demonstration, so I'm going to turn it off for now. But the control tip text will still appear in the usual way as we move over each item. They've been grouped into 4 different types. Items that are fully working are green in colour, as shown here. Those that work to some extent, but there are issues, I've shown in yellow. After 20 years, because Microsoft have never provided documentation, we just actually have documentation by people like me that looked into this function, and even so, there are still some functions which are either not working or whose purpose is unknown. They're shown in blue. And then finally, there's 3 more functions which were designed for data access pages, a technology that was deprecated with Access 2003. They still work if you're using a data access page, but that's almost nobody these days. Now, as well as those, there are 3 buttons at the top. The first one then shows you the Wizhook key. I've already mentioned the value of that. It shows it here as well, and I can test to open a message box created using Wizhook, okay, for that. And I'm not going to spend more time on that now because I'm going to show you that later. The 2 other buttons here open 2 different sorts of reference here. This one here is a link to my own website article, and you will see as we go through that the main form and various other items in there. So I'll leave you to look at that in your own time. And this one here will take you to Thomas Muller's Wizhook website. Now that is by far the best website I've found over the last 20 years, and in fact this example app is an updated version of something he created with some additional functions listed, and some additional ones have actually been deduced since he wrote his articles there. So if I click on that, then take you to his website, which is in German, but after a few seconds, if you have a modern browser, it will automatically translate into your chosen language, in this case English. And as well as an introduction, then he's got a page for each of the different functions that he's looked at as well. And now, having got this far, I just want to show you then about the fact that it's, as I say, a hidden member. So if we go into the Visual Basic Editor and then go to View, Object Browser, and if I type in Wizhook here, no items found, because the only references are to hidden members. So we right click, we tick show hidden members, and then you will see 3 items listed. If I tick the first one here and then just move this up slightly, you will see then the list of all the different items I've got in my own form here. A access user data directory, for example, there is the first one here, and they're in alphabetical order. And for people like me that have looked into that, each of these, then if we actually select any of them, we can see a little bit more about what they are, and indeed the arguments that need to be applied to get these to work. But that's it in terms of your help. Beyond that, you're on your own. So if we just move the VB editor out of the way for a second here, and now let's look at a few of the simpler functions. First of all then, as I say, it was originally designed for use with AccessWizard, so it won't surprise you that it actually has a function here to find out where the wizard files are. And the 6 main ones, utility.accda and so on. And if I click on this, then it will tell me the file path for that particular one if I wanted to know that. And this one here, okay, etc. Now, to show you the VBA code for that then, click on here, and then what it's doing is looking to see what the value is that it's going to look up, each of those different things there on the option groups there. It then sets the Wizhook key, and then all we do is we apply wizhook.accessWizFilePath and tell it where to look. And then it will find the file path here, and I've just dressed that up in a Wizhook message box, which is one I'm going to come on to later. So let's close that. While I'm at it though, if I click on this one, it will take you to the specific page on Thomas Muller's website. Again, it will translate into English in just a second, and you will find a page for all except one of the items. That's the first one. There's several that actually do find file paths, for example the user data directory. The next one I'm going to show you then is the OfficeAddin directory, or folder if you prefer. So it turns path to the user's add-in folder, tells you that there. Click OK if I want to open it, and then it will give you a list, if you have any, of add-ins that have been installed and anything else in that folder as well. Useful if you are a creator of add-ins in order to actually find where they're located, or indeed if you're installing them. Okay, let's move on from that. As I say, there's several which are related to file paths. Set VBA passwords. Now VBA passwords are not the same as application passwords, but they have their uses as well for just hiding code, but without stopping users getting into the application itself. So I've got a test database here, and it's in the same folder as I'm in at the moment here, so I don't need a connect string, and I'm going to set the password Isle of Dogs. So if we tick that, it's told me it's been successful, the password has been set. The code for that, then it's getting variable set here, it's looking up the values from those 3 text boxes, applying the Wizhook key. I apply it to each of these functions so I can just copy it into another application, but you can apply it once if you wanted to. And it then checks, it's a Boolean function, it checks whether or not it's worked, and if it does, it then puts in a message box saying it's worked, and if it fails, it will tell you that. Let's try changing that password to something else. And it fails. So it allows you to set a password but not to change it. Let's actually look at that application just to show that it has been set there. And if I go into the module, then you can't see anything at the moment. Password set. The password is what I did set it to successfully earlier, Isle of Dogs. And there we go, we have a message box. That's the entire code within my example database here. I'll show you one more today, and that is the Wizhook message box. Now this is a nice way of showing you message boxes that include bold text for the first section if you want, as well as making an easy way of including help files. You give it a title, you give it a message, standard thing for any message box. You tell it what sort of style you want. Let's do yes, no, cancel. We can have an icon or not. Let's have a question mark icon, and we can choose whether or not to have a help button. Okay, no help button, Yes, I will have one. And I've also, if I'm having a help button, then I can put in a help file, and that help file can be any local file, for example the old-fashioned Windows CHM help files, or it can be an online file or an online article, which is what I'm choosing to do in this case, an article from my website. So if we click on that, then you can see bold line at the top there. Let's just move this to one side. Bold at the top, normal, more normal, dotted line, the buttons I chose to do, and a help button here. So if we click on the help button, it will take you to an article on my website which shows another sort of formatted message box, which I actually think looks slightly better and gives you a little bit more flexibility in terms of the layout there. But you can link to anything you want to. So all we do then is we look up the information that we've set on the form, apply the Wizhook key, and then we just apply a Wizhook message, and that's it. So these are 5 of the most simple functions. Quite a few of them are more complex than this, and that's about all I want to show you for today. In the next video in this series, I'm going to look at the TwipsFromFont function, which is far more useful than it actually sounds. Just to mention though, it gets the height and width of specified text in TWIPs, but it's what you can do with that is actually quite interesting. So I'll close that for now. That's for the next video. And if we now close that, come back to our PowerPoint demonstration then, and to remind you then, you can pick up this demonstration app and all the information that goes with it from my website. Next thing would be to give you some information about where else you can find more details about the Wizhook functions. First place then, my website. Second place, and one that I most recommend, is Thomas Muller's website. Fairly old articles and in German, but will translate. Less detailed, but in English, is a PDF that you can download from this place here, and this is by somebody called Jason M, and it actually describes about just under half of the Wizhook functions, about 30 odd of them. And a Spanish variation written about the same time, both about 2003, which are again only gives you details about 30 or so of the different Wizhook functions. And that, until recently, was it, except that Mike Wolf saw one of my articles about Wizhook and was inspired to actually start writing some of his own, and he's written about 5 articles about Wizhook so far, with more still to come, and that will take you to a list of all the articles he's got so far about Wizhook, including the message box and sorting strings, which is one I'm going to come back to in a future time. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. As I say, the next Wizhook video in a few days' time will be TwipsFromFont. If you found it useful, please, in the meantime, click the like button and leave a comment. Please subscribe, and then you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. And I'd be very grateful for any topics for future videos in this series. That's all for now. See you soon.